Recording content is great. It's a good platform for expressing your feelings, delivering opinions, and if done well and you enjoy it, it can become quite addictive. But like with any hobby, with any job, you need downtime. Why is that? Let's get into it. So I'm recording this off the back of having quite a bit of downtime. First, it was the holidays for my kids at school. And with my wife working a day shift, I took that time, a full 2 weeks, to spend with my kids. And I absolutely loved it. But just as I was about to start getting back into the swing of content creating and getting back to work, my kids took not well, which meant there was another week that I had to take off from content creation to look after them. Now, I don't begrudge that for a second. I am more than happy to look after my kids when they're not well, as much as I am when they're off on holiday. But it did knock a massive hole in my schedule. I lagged behind on not only the work on my own channels for content creation, but the other channels that I manage as well. So I'm going to go into the good points of having the time off, the bad points, and my overall thoughts on why I still think that downtime is important. So let's talk about the good points. Recharging. Sometimes when you're in a bubble of constantly creating content, recording, editing, uploading, repeat cycle, you want to keep that momentum going because you feel like you have to keep that momentum going. It's something that everybody tells you when you start content creating. Don't slow the momentum. Keep going. Don't give up. More content, more content, more content. Stop. You need a break. For the people that do YouTube as a hobby, I want you to think about your normal working environment. Can you work your normal day job all the time? Of course you can't. You need a break. It's why you have annual leave. It's why you have holidays. It's why you work for the holidays. When you get to that point that you know you need a break, you have to take it. You need to recharge your batteries, re-energize, get your focus back, and get yourself back in the game to go back to your normal working job. YouTube creation, no different. And it doesn't matter if it's a hobby or if you're trying to turn it into a career. You need to take the break. Now, in my case, content creation is my job. Not a well-paid job, but a job nonetheless. I still do all the work that everybody else does, as I've mentioned in my ranting videos, so you can go and check them out. But I do the job, I love it, and I work more hours than I did when I worked in the normal 9 to 5 jobs. Because with those jobs, it was a means to an end. I clocked on, I clocked off, and just looked forward to annual leave or time with my family. Content creation is something that I really enjoy doing. I can do 12 to 14 hour days minimum and not even feel like I need to get up to go to the toilet because I'm so passionate about what I do. I'm focused, I'm in the zone. I could happily work on it day after day after day, sometimes 7 days a week, just knowing that I can get content out there. And it makes me feel good. So it makes it harder for me to stop. But I do need the break. Otherwise, I'm going to burn myself out. And it gives me the time to recharge those batteries and get my head back in the game to create more content. Which also leads me into the next point of why you need the break. Eventually, you hit a content writer's block. If you are constantly on the go creating content, eventually your brain tells you, I've had enough, I can't think of any more ideas. When it gets to that point where you're having to struggle to think of ideas rather than them coming to you organically, that's when you need to have a break. Because the results become forced, contrived, and you don't get the views. You can also not get the views with ideas that you've thought of organically off the top of your head, but the difference is you have more fun with them when they're organic. They're not a generic corporate machine. And when you take that time off from content creating and you have that little break, that's when the ideas come back to you. We've all had those moments where we're lying in bed at about 3 in the morning and think, oh, I've just had a brilliant idea, but I'm tired. I'm not going to write it down. It may be a pain in the ass, but get up at 3 a.m. and write it down, or you will forget. We have smartphones with notepads now. Even just go onto the notepad, type it down, turn the phone over, and go back to sleep. That doesn't mean that because you've had an idea, you instantly cancel the time that you've had off and try and record it. Carry on having your annual leave, because you'll end up thinking of more ideas during that time, and just rinse and repeat the cycle. So that way, when you go back and get your content creating head on, you'll know what to do, and you'll blast the content, feeling more refreshed and more energized. I did say there are some bad points about taking downtime, and I'm only talking from my own personal experience on this one. It is so damn hard to get started again. With the normal working world, you have set annual leave days. When those days are up, you have to go back. Otherwise, you don't get paid, which is why the first day back at work is always a pain in the ass. When you're doing content creation as a hobby though, and you do stop, there isn't the same motivations to go back. There isn't the carrot in front of you and the stick behind you. The stick being get your ass back to work, the carrot in front being the money. So if you're doing a channel that isn't monetized yet, it is harder to start back because the thought is just a hobby, no making any money out of it. I can leave it for a bit longer. This is where the mindset plays tricks on you. And it's happened to me multiple times. I give myself a break, and then when it comes to the point where I'm about to get myself ready to start back on the content creating journey, my head starts to mess with me, telling me not to bother, that I need a bit more recovery time, that I'm not ready yet. Now when I first started doing the content creating journey, I fell into those old habits of not bothering. But there is a way to cover your ass, just in case something like this happens. Before you take your break, record more content than you need and have it uploaded and ready for scheduling. I'll always try to be at least 2 or 3 weeks ahead of my content creating journey, so if my mind does mess with me, because with my mental health being the way it is, sometimes I do fall foul, I can look at my channels, see how far ahead they are, and just try and start building that cycle back up again. I am more likely to get back to work on the channels that I do work for in my Ginger Media company than necessarily my own, because I know that I can take that time. I've built my following, I've built my fan base, and if you're open and honest about it, they do understand. And I am grateful to you for that. But you always have to watch out for your mind playing tricks on you and make backup plans just in case. Another downside is that sometimes life can get in the way. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I'd had my 2 weeks off, I was in a good mental health space and ready to go. Then one of my sons took not well, and then my other son took not well. And with Alison working day shifts, I'm the one that can go and do the childcare. I don't begrudge it for a minute, but it did throw a little spanner in the works. I wound up being another week behind than I had anticipated. And because I spent so long looking after the kids when they weren't well, when I would have the time to myself, I needed to rest. I love my boys, I love my family, but they are hard work and they require constant love, care, and attention. I don't begrudge it for a second, but sometimes looking after a kid is the only thing you can do for a day, especially if they're not well. You don't have the energy to go back home and record more content because you just want to get to sleep and make sure you can look after your kids the next day. So I wound up being a bit further behind with editing and uploading videos than I wanted to be, which then requires another contingency plan, the all-nighters. I could be starting editing a video when it's one day, and then finish it as I went into the next day. Because when you're in that zone and you want to get the video done, you just focus on it. You don't think, I need my bed, I'll do the rest tomorrow. You just want to get it done. Which means that sometimes you accidentally pull an all-nighter. Helps catch up with the content, but is not good for your body or your mind. So those are the good points and the bad points of having downtime as a content creator. But what do I prefer? Do I prefer carrying on working and not taking a break, or treating it like my 9-to-5 job and working purely for the holidays and then coming back for a slog? My answer is a little bit of both. I'll work as hard as I can when I need to work. But with my kids now in full-time education, I am the designated childcare for them. So my holidays are essentially set to school time. So I'll have Easter holidays, or spring break as you call it in the US. I'll have 6 weeks in the summer with the kids. I'll have their time off over Christmas and New Year. I essentially treat my annual leave schedule the same as a teacher's schedule. And I am okay with that because I can blast as much content out in between those times as I need, and usually a little bit extra if I'm not quite ready to go back to work when the kids go back to school. I might have been burned out and not realised it. I might be tired and just need a couple of extra days just to myself to get my head back in the game. But downtime is important. You do it in the normal job, you do it in content creating, even if you treat it as a hobby. So take a break. Your audience will be there when you start back up again, as long as you let them know that you're coming back. So let me know what you think of downtime as a content creator. Do you have a set schedule? Do you just wing it? Or do you think the answer lies somewhere in the middle? Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.